The Hive. What do you think of when you think of the hive? Insects? A collective? Or maybe you go for the out there one and think of Resident Evil. I'll explain how all those angles are correct and relevant. We are often likened to insects, our social structure and hierarchy involving a queen, which does seem a rather odd thing when they say men rule the world. Strangely, they overlooked those women and others in power. Or did they? But it does appear that our societal structure is being pushed towards a very formal and ordered future. Why individualism and joy are hated quite so much, I don't actually know, other than they must be a threat to the overall system, like a bug or a glitch, that if left unchecked, rages out of control and spreads, eventually crashing the system. I suspect they actually view us as the virus, capable of infecting their neat plan of us being drones and workers for their ant farm. How far-fetched, you might say, and indeed it may be. But I will be as far-fetched as needed from now on, as things are escalating at a rather alarming pace. The squeeze they are putting on people from many angles is sinister, unyielding and relentless, and it is all manufactured by the powers that be. The real horrors being revealed daily to expose the corruption can't keep up with the sheer volume of people, places, amounts, motives, conflicts of interest and other things being chucked at the senses daily. Accidental or not, they have made a complete shit show out of society, and it may have always been on that path, with this outcome as the desired result. It now makes a bit more sense why they may have wanted to flood the country with undocumented people from anywhere, because it destabilises the local communities who would ordinarily pull together and help each other out through the tough times. But they don't want that. They want kindness gone, empathy gone, and isolation being a theme, separated from your fellow man by way of fear and suspicion. Then they will bring in punishments for helping others without authorisation. Once everyone is hooked up to their social credit system with monitored money and authorised spend, they will know if you buy more or something different. They will try any which way to stop people being able to fight for themselves and each other. So what of the others in this country? The ones who are not from here but by whatever circumstances find themselves here in the last few years? Some speculate that they will be moved to Canada, and there is a general people relocation programme occurring. Of which I do agree to a point, as I believe it is much easier to condition and reform if you displace groups of people and remove and destroy their history, heritage and traditions. My idealistic mind would like to think that wherever people are from, if they find themselves here, and the needs must, they will fight with us. And that is me being fanciful, and maybe watching too many movies where the backup army appear as if from nowhere to join the ranks, giving the numbers needed to do what is needed. But what if we could get some social cohesion, of understanding that we are all people, and unless differences are put to one side and the similarities in us embraced for basic living, we may not be people any longer. And maybe we already aren't, as we are currently viewed and treated as a commodity, as chattel, as property. But it would seem that we are a volatile and potentially dangerous commodity that must be placated and controlled so that we can be of use. We are at the hands of opportunists, and if we put complete unknowns to one side, they are just people. Crazy, unhinged, disturbed people who happen to be in charge because we continue to let them, voted for or not. If someone is no longer fit for the role, they must go. And if the role is no longer fit for purpose, then it must go too. They make no sense, lie all the time, steal from the pot, write laws to suit them as they go, and people just accept that. It's outrageous and it's downright criminal. They do seem rather hung up on creating augmented humans as well, and sucking us all into their weird metaverse so we can have virtual lives instead of real ones, where we can be drones for their data, but not consuming much of the real resources that they would like to have all for themselves. They are a bit stuck though, as they haven't quite perfected the machinery from scratch to do away with us completely, and robots aren't quite good enough and have to be programmed still, as far as we know. So what to do with us? There will be a time to fill before it is ready and operational, so they use that time to try and prepare us, to get people on board from the beginning so they won't notice, add more people as you go, creasing out the glitches that arise. And by glitches, I mean people realising what is happening, people trying to unplug or avoid it. Their goal is to enhance human capabilities beyond the individual, so linking us all up to a central point, turning us into something only functioning for the greater good rather than for the good of ourselves first. And that greater good is a standard set by people who don't want humans being humans, and they do not like freedom of choice or individual thought. So I suspect that they don't actually know what the greater good is for humanity. They want greater good for themselves, at the expense of us. And that is perhaps how we ended up being the Hive from Resident Evil. We worked above ground, completely unaware of what they were up to beneath our feet. It never sat well with me that they claimed to have eradicated all these terrible things like viruses, yet kept them safely in their possession until needed. And possibly that is how those things really came to be, engineered for control from the start. They are creating a heartless, monitored, sterile society around us, and if people don't notice that and decide they want better, then towards it we will march.